It's kind of like in the farming world, you know, we work and we put our crops in the ground and we work on it all spring and summer, and we get to the harvest time, we're really kind of collecting the bounty. Well, that's where we're at here on our policies. So many of our policies happen this time of year, and we're right down to the end of the legislature, and we haven't done anything on one of our biggest policy priorities, which is property tax, but we are in it this week, and we're pretty excited that we do have some legislation to interact around, and we're happy to support LB 388. You know, we're pretty excited about the package that we are dealing with right now. There's a lot of good things in it. A couple of things that are really important. Fundamentally, it puts almost $1 billion of funding in to replace property taxes, and that's a really big number. But that number is not accidental. If we can do $1 billion, we could really come a lot closer to balancing this three-legged stool that we've been talking about. Now, that funding comes through a couple of different places, but I think it's pretty important to understand that part of that is general funds, maybe $400 million or more. The other dollars coming from a variety of places, including raising the sales tax by 1 cent, reducing some exemptions that we're okay with. The tax on repair parts is not in there, but there are some other exemptions that we are taking out. It does add up to close to $1 billion, and so that's going to be in flux. We're going to be working on fine-tuning some of those numbers over the next several days. The second part that's really important is that as our rates or valuations have gone up over the last several years, really significantly, especially in the housing side of the equation, our taxes just keep going up. Even though we've put a lot of relief in and we've worked really hard at that relief, valuations go up, and unfortunately our taxes are tied to valuation. What this does is actually we'll put a cap on spending on political subdivisions. It gives them a little room, gives them some inflation room because we know things cost more. We're going to give them 3% more. They can override that if they need to by a special vote in a general election. But we are going to put a cap on spending. And that's important because as we go forward, we know that if we can't slow down spending, we ultimately are going to find ourselves in a spot a few years down the road that we're going to be another $500 million. We're another $1 billion, and we want to really correct that trend, and this bill works really hard at doing that. School funding is very appropriate because almost 60% of our property taxes do go to fund schools, and so we can't have that conversation without having the school conversation. We are still, that part of the bill is still being written, or that bill is still being written. It's at bill drafters yet right now. But what's being talked about is actually adding more foundation aid. So the state would step up and they would pay another $1,500, so a total of $3,000 per student. And that is $3,000 per student that was being funded by property tax. Since the state is stepping up, that we ensure that our property taxes are reduced to that same level. And so we're going to be watching that very closely Tuesday and going forward to make sure that there's some really key language in there that will accomplish the relief that is needed. But we do think we're on the right path there. If this is what comes out in a bill that the state does fund more foundational aid, we're okay with that. You have an organization that is working really hard on your behalf. Our members should be very proud of the staff that's working here. I get to see it every day. And when we see a piece of legislation like this starting to come through that has really our fingerprints all over it, it's pretty exciting, but it's not accidental. It's because we've been working, every day on this all the way through session. Our members have come in and given up their time to testify, and that all makes a big difference. And it comes down to the crunch time in these next several days where we're at that we've just talked about. I know we have a holiday weekend going up, but there's a lot of fine-tuning to go on these bills, and there'll be work being done even over this weekend to ensure that when we go back into session on Tuesday morning, that everything that we want in the bill and is important to us is there. And I'm confident that we will get something across the line this year, and it's going to be good for our members and good and reduce property tax burden here in Nebraska.